Man, there's schoolfish everywhere, isn't there? The water looks clean.
Welcome back to Weddy TV. In this episode, it's all action. From the moment we got into the water to the time we got out, there was incredible encounters with big kingfish, snapper, even yellowfin tuna. It wasn't our normal day out spearfishing. Some incredible visibility, and the ocean really came alive this day. We're diving on a deep sort of reef pinnacle system. It's not often you can dive this sort of area, as when it's dirty it's very hard to see the tops of the rocks. Once in the water, I was instantly engulfed with large koheru, which are the best bait fish to see when spearfishing in New Zealand. On the very first drop to inspect this bit of reef, this nice big snapper comes cruising underneath me. Notice how I do my best to intercept the fish and take a good shot with my Viper Pro spear gun. I keep pressure on my reel to bring the snapper up nice and early. I don't want it to run off into deeper water to either attract sharks or scare other fish away. It's a good holding shot and unlikely the spear will come out.
Pretty nice, man. Dropped down on the first dive on the pinnacle under all the cowies and old snapper came swimming underneath me. It's pretty amazing conditions, really clear water, lots and lots of fish on the very first dive.
And just after I shot that snapper, we got buzzed by some big yellowfin tuna, which is an extremely rare occurrence in New Zealand, especially when diving on bits of reef. Of course, we spent the next hour or so just swimming with these big koheru, scanning amongst the school, hoping that those tuna would come back through. When diving amongst these big bait schools, sometimes it can pay to dive right at the end of the school. That's likely where the predators might be, whether that's kingfish, tuna, snapper or sharks. With this clear blue water, I really wanted to explore these deeper pinnacles, as it's very unusual to be able to see the bottom right down into deeper water. The top of this pinnacle is at around about 22-23 meters. And right down onto the sand that you can see, that's around 40 meters. Just incredible visibility for New Zealand. These are the best kind of days to explore bits of reef to see if you can find any interesting fish. Kingfish were a constant presence today, as all those koharu make for their favourite thing to eat. Coming up from this dive, I spotted something interesting that popped out of a hole. So I headed down to inspect. Golden snapper are predominantly a deep water species, but they can be found in diveable depths in lots of places in the northern New Zealand. Although not typically a timid fish, they can be rare to find and often demand decent depth. This other funny looking fish is called a bluefish, a non-target species for New Zealand. They're a visitor from the Kermadec Islands. Dan makes a dive to shoot this big golden snapper, but on the way up he doesn't realise that the spear guns got caught under the lip of the rock. At first it doesn't seem an issue, but with the top of this pinnacle and this golden snapper being at around 26 meters, we had to ditch the gun and I needed to make a dive very quickly to get back down, in case this fish swam off over the top of the pinnacle and down into that very deep water. It wouldn't have to swim far to get to 50 meters. Back down there, another golden snapper has joined its mate. Back on the surface, it's absolutely alive, with schools of trevally coming through. And the big schools of big koharu that were getting more and more agitated. We could soon see why when this big school of large kingfish appeared from the depths. some of these fish getting up to around 30 kilos. Key things to look for when you're hunting kingfish. You're trying to find the bait that they're chasing, like those big kohiru, but also it pays to cover a little bit of ground in a reef system, as kingfish like to stick to their certain highways when they're passing through. Sometimes you can be 50 meters off a spot and not see them. These fish seem to be very fixated on this specific bit of reef. As soon as we swam over and hit it, we gained their curiosity and they came right up to us. The best approach on kingfish is getting down to their level. You can see how comfortable they are and how easy they would be to spear. Chasing after them or swimming at them is not your optimum approach. Once the main school headed off, Dan made a dive to try and get a kingfish for us to share. With all these fish around, it could be easy to get carried away and shoot too much. So Dan shoots a nice kingfish of around about 20 kilos, which is more than enough meat for us to share. Notice how Dan's lying flat on the surface and allowing his reel line to trail behind him. This will minimize the chance of getting tangled. Do your best not to hang vertically in the water and spin around getting tangled in your line. Pink maomao can be very prolific in these deeper waters. The best approach for them is getting down to their level, and then they become a lot more friendly. Being part of the groper family, they have beautiful white flesh and are very nice to eat, as well as being a beautiful sight. I gut that pink mamo to see if we can drum up some of the interest from the surrounding snapper. And sure enough, there's a bronze whaler on site very quickly, along with more kingfish and snapper feeding in the guts. Although it can be intimidating with sharks around, it can also be very handy as the snapper tend to get a lot more friendly and drop their guard. Spearfishing snapper in open water like this can often be very tricky, but in this case, this snapper is not afraid at all and probably thinks I'm another shark. I snap off the shot at the end of range with my 120 Viper Pro and just managed to catch the top of the fish. I shoot a couple of koharu just to see if I can get everything excited. At this point, the kingfish are very, very friendly. But we maybe got a little bit too confident with the sharks around, as these two bronze whalers got a little bit too friendly for my liking. As one of them has a go at Sophie. Fortunately, in the clear water, you can keep an eye on them and try and keep them at bay.
I know, there was two of them, yeah.
There's a small one that attacked me.
Get that snapper, get the snapper!
But the more the sharks get hyped up, the snapper follows suit. As this one wasn't intimidated by Sophie at all. A cool front-on shot. Being a little bit more nervous after the previous encounter, I want to help Sophie land this fish so she doesn't have problems with the bronze whalers. It was hard to drag ourselves out of the water this day as it was just constant and relentless with amazing fish. But soon it was time to go home and we had a great chiller bin full of a variety of species, as well as exploring this amazing bit of reef and pinnacles. It doesn't get much better than this in New Zealand.